Good evening, Dr. Sarup. Are you there?
Yeah, good evening. I'm there.
Good evening. Good evening. Bhagya ma'am, you are ready?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
sir.
Good evening. So we'll begin with Arun Mohan. Arun Mohan, sir, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening to all. I welcome all the dignified participants to the 105th training series of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Now I take it as a pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Ms. Bhagyashri. With more than 9 years of experience in the field of education, Ms. Bhagyashri is currently working as a PRT in Queens Valley School, Dwaraka, New Delhi. She holds a master's degree in English and Education. She was a national rank holder in Teaching Professionals Olympiad 2015, conducted by Center for Teachers Accreditation, dedicated to creation and nurturing of lifelong passion for education. She has also volunteered with prominent NGOs in educational field, Ekalavya Bhopal, Vidya Bhavan, Udaipur, and has also developed learning resources in collaboration with National Museum of History and Mirambika CCRT. So Bhagyashri ma'am, wholeheartedly, I invite you to moderate today's grand session. So please ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much, Arun, sir, for such a warm welcome and introduction. Thank you. So,
Always.
as it is said, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. On that note, let's get started with today's webinar. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries as well as the enthusiastic participants to the 105th web training series by CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Whatever you are, be a good one. That is a famous quote by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India and the most loved president of India. But who inspired him? Here I would like to share a very interesting incident that happened back in 1979 during the first Indian satellite launch vehicle by ISRO. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was the project director of SLV mission led by Professor Satish Dhawan. That was the first time India was building its own rocket launch vehicle. And after 10 years of hard struggle, they were ready to launch their first experimental rocket. But during the launch, it was discovered later that some control components were not in order. But Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam decided to launch the rocket, which turned out to be a big failure. Now, Dr. Kalam was very frightened to face the media and answer the criticism of wasting millions of people's money. At this point, Professor Satish Dhawan, the chairman of ISRO, took the blame for the team's failure and said, "We failed, but I have a very good trust in my team that next time we will be succeeding for sure." And this made everyone to believe in his team again. Next year, the same team led by Dr. Kalam successfully launched the satellite into the orbit. The rest is history as we know it. Dr. Kalam later led many such successful launches and became the missile man of India. This would not have happened without what Professor Satish Dhawan did on the day of the failure. Well, this sums up what leadership and being a true administrator is all about. It's not just about leading someone to achieve a task, but it's about empowering someone to achieve far more greater deeds. Being an administrator, a leader, it's not easy. Management isn't some skill like drawing where you can just practice in isolation for hours and hours on end. Instead, you need to have the opportunity to be stretched in certain situations in order to learn and grow. And yes, in the present scenario too, one can say that these are the most challenging time for India's community of educationists and educators. But as it is said, in the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity. As an administrative professional, you wear many hats, and being a good manager and leader is one of them. Administrative excellence involves much more than just checking tasks off your to-do list. We very well know that if you achieve excellence in your performance, success comes naturally. However, the challenge is how to achieve excellence. We often discuss management skills in the abstract, but what they really are. And are you looking to brush up on the skills that define a talented administrator and leader? So today's session is all about this. So without any further delay, let's move forward with today's session on the topic Management Program for Excellence in Administration. As it is said, great teachers, heads, and principals can help to improve students' attitudes about school and build habits of mind that can change a student's life trajectory. So here, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome the heroes of our education system yet again. That is you, all dear educators, managers, and leaders. This webinar wouldn't be possible without your presence. So a hearty welcome to all of you. Dear educators, before moving ahead, here are a few points for the smooth conduct of the webinar. You're all requested to keep your cameras on, and any query during the webinar can be posted in the chat box. And as we believe that to have an interactive session, there is also a dedicated question answer session at the end. Also, a participant will receive the certificate after filling the certificate and feedback form, which will be shared at the end of the session. Dear educators, I'm sure you will agree that these webinars empower us and help us to recognize our power and also gives us an opportunity to grow as an individual. And this has been made possible under the leadership of Dr. Salam, that today Bharat Sahodaya brings another important session for all of us. And it gives me immense pleasure to welcome Dr. Abdul Salam Sir, the General Secretary of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex, setting one of the ideal examples of great management skills and supreme leadership qualities. As it is said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and to do more and become more, you are a true leader. He is one such leader, and our education fraternity knows him well, as he's the soul of Bharat Sahodaya Complex. Sir holds several positions besides being the principal of the well-reputed senior secondary school. Sir is a CBSE resource person and CBSE Deputy Training Coordinator of Trivandrum region. He's also the recipient of many iconic awards by various organizations. His mission to educate the educators is an inspiration for many, and his sincere efforts are surely going to make a difference in our education transformation. Dr. Salam is a true visionary and a true leader. I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir, and request you to deliver the welcome address. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhagya ma'am. Good evening and a hearty welcome to the 105th session of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Very happy to see Dr. Sarup Datta once again on this floor, and also Bhagyashri ma'am, and all the educators who have joined. Our journey towards excellence continues. We are very busy these days, we know, with the exams and all, but we cannot take rest from learning. Learning should continue. And every bit of learning will help us, as it's a gathering of experienced people. When we share our experiences, definitely we are going to get an opportunity to correct ourselves, to visualize, to go into our actions and see what can be the best next time. So Bhagyashree ma'am has very clearly briefed about through an example what an administrator, a leader should be. Example was given of Professor Satish Dhawan. When the team failed, he accepted the blame, and when the team succeeded, he gave the credit to the team. And there are only very few people who are who can be seen like this. And if we are able to do perform and be able to follow the steps of Professor Satish Dhawan, definitely we are going to be a very good administrator. And it requires lots of qualities and lots of things to be taken care of to become an excellent administrator. But definitely if we are able to keep all our people with us, then definitely we are going to succeed. So without further ado, I hand over the floor to Dr. Sarup Datta and over to Bhagyashree ma'am, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumit sir. Thank you. Well, educational management involves the process of planning, decision-making, and formulating educational policies. So school teachers, managers, administrators are leaders as well as the implementers of the educational policies. Every leader or manager needs to improve, not because they are not good enough, but because they can be even better. We should never stop to strive for excellence, right? So today's session is all about learning the managerial skills to manage classrooms and schools effectively for the attainment of educational goals and objectives. So to take us on another journey of professional development and a great learning experience, it's my honor and privilege to welcome Dr. Swaroop Datta sir, who will be our resource person for this session. Dr. Swaroop Datta is the principal of MSM English School, Malkapur, Maharashtra, and zonal coordinator and master trainer of CBSE, COE Pune. He has recently prepared 2 modules for Diksha portal on behalf of CBSE. Sir is also the president of Buldhana Sahodaya School Complex and also the advisor for academics and training of Zoom class technologies. Sir is a great visionary leader and educator. He has been well-known corporate trainer, life and consciousness coach, and inspirational speaker for the last 20 years. He is the first school principal in India to become a master black belt in Lean Six Sigma quality management system. He's also a certified green belt and global career counselor from UCLA Extension. Sir gave up his illustrious career as vice president of a pharmaceutical company to bring out changes in the education sector. He's presently training and mentoring school leaders in Lean Six Sigma. He's also received the Young Scientist Award 2007 for his research in the field of homeopathic science. Sir is also the co-author of the book Homeopathy in the Light of Modern Science. He has also received the Best Pragati Award, an Exceptional Performance Award in Wipro and Hewlett-Packard. Sir has been actively contributing in the field of education with an aim to provide quality education of international standards to schools located in rural India. He's also worked as a principal in Iris World School, Kareem Nagar, and Gurukul English Medium School, Digras. Dr. Swaroop Datta has trained principals across Maharashtra on NEP 2020 and presently conducting numerous sessions for teachers and parents of schools across India. I welcome you with all my respect and regards to this webinar, sir.
Thank you.
Here, here, I would just like to remind the participants that it is an interactive session. So please make sure to note down your questions and ask them in the live chat. With that, let's begin the learning for today. Over to you, sir. Hearty welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Bhageshri ma'am, the moderator for the day, and Dr. Abdul Salam, the visionary leader who is leading the Bharat Sahodaya to newer heights. Today, I have been invited to speak on this topic, the module for which I created for CBSE, that is Management Program for Excellence in Administration. Now, this is basically a 2-day module. It's a 2-day program, full-time program, 5 hours each. But what I've done over here is I've compressed the entire learning in 1.5 hours max. And this basically, I have divided the entire thing into 2 different parts. I'm going to cover the part 1 today, because without covering the part 1, if I use terms and techniques from the part 2, which will not make any sense and you will not understand it clearly. So today I'm going to cover the part 1, and probably in the days to come, we can even go for part 2 later on, right? So let me share my screen with you first. So this is called the Management Program for Excellence in Administration, part 1, which mainly deals with the supervisory skills that an administrator need to have. So you can put your answers in the chat box. Why do educators need to be trained as leaders? That's my question. What do you think is the reason? Why do educators need to be trained as leaders? The second question is, does a teacher need to be a leader too? And third question is, what roles do leadership skills play in the current professional world? So before I come to the third question, which will be answered in the course of this session, let me know, what do you feel about educators need to be trained as leaders? Let me check the chat box. You can share your answers in the chat box. Teacher as an admin should, okay, constant change in the education field, upskilling. It's like polishing the diamond, okay? All right. Each one of you is right. To sharpen their skills, we have to deal with many people to achieve the common vision. We manage manpower. Now, leaders, let me just add over here, because I need to go a bit faster than I normally do to compress the session in 1.5 hours. See, who is a leader? Who leads a team to a destination, right? So when we are talking about a destination, educators are the ones who are creating the future. How the future is going to look like, who decides that? It is the educator who decides it, right? You must have heard about the country Finland and Finland phenomenon. The country Finland was basically devastated by the Second World War. The country was absolutely devastated. And then today, it is considered as one of the topmost countries in technological advancement. And the educational system of Finland is a matter of study across the globe, because where the country went down after the World War II and where it is right now is mainly because of the teachers of that country. And no wonder the teachers of Finland are paid more than doctors and engineers. I think many of you are aware of that, right? Teachers are the highest paid professionals in Finland. And they have designed a system which the whole world is inquisitive about, how they do it. So a leader is one who leads to a new future, and an educator is someone who is the creator of the future, right? So that is the reason the educators need to be trained as leaders. Now, when I say trained as leaders, leadership, is it a learnable skill? To an extent, not fully. But what are the things that someone is born with, and what are the things that we can imbibe and develop? Those are the things that we need to understand. So no wonder a teacher needs to be a leader as well, mainly because he or she is leading a bunch of tender minds to become future citizens of the country. Now, this session is about greatness. Now, when we talk about leadership, leadership means greatness. So this training is about producing great supervisors and bringing your greatness into action into the world. You will be trained to do great things in the world. So in the next 1.5 hours, I'm going to talk about, how to be great as a leader. Now, how many of you can identify all the 3 great leaders of modern generation? I'm talking about modern era. How many of you can these 3 people? Can you share the names in the chat box? Who is this person with the beard? Who is the person with the white shirt and this black and white picture? Steve. No, it's not Ratan Tata Priyaji. CEO Sundar Pichai. Yes, this is Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. And we all know where Google is today, right? So it said that if you don't know anything, you can ask God or you can ask Google. So the way Google was, how it was developed and where it is today, it's mainly because of the leadership of this man. The Gmail that we use today, the Google different applications. Recently, CBSE trained the educators on the different applications of Google, Google Form, Google Classrooms. All these things are the brainchild of this particular gentleman, right? Sundar Pichai. This is who? The person in black and white? None other than Steve Jobs. We all love to carry Apple phones and flaunt it, right? That logo of that half-eaten apple, it's a brand on its own. So who created that brand? Steve Jobs. He was a great leader as well. And this not so familiar gentleman with a tie around his neck, his name is Jack Welch. Jack Welch is considered as one of the management guru. You may not know his name, but the company's name, I'm sure every one of you have heard about it. It's General Electricals, the GE. So he is the person who designed a system of administration in GE that it rose from rock bottom to where it is today, one of the topmost companies of the world. And what Jack Welch did in terms of being an administrator is a matter of study in every IIMs and XLRIs and management institutes. You walk into any IIM, Jack Welch will be right there in their syllabus. You cannot learn MBA without knowing about Jack Welch. So these are, 3 people that I'm referring to. It doesn't mean though it's the end of the list. There are countless people like these people who have been great leaders. Now, let me ask you this before I go to the slide. What is the difference between a great man and an ordinary man? You need to understand that who is great and who is ordinary. So once your learning starts with this fact, by demarcating clearly who is a great person and who is not, you will be able to, carry yourself in that direction. So let me share that PowerPoint presentation slide with you. Now, great people, there are a few things that I've, categorized over here, are always truthful for a great cause. Ordinary people, many times not truthful for smaller, selfish benefits. So it all starts with the truthfulness, how honest you are to your mission, your vision, and to the work that you're doing. So are you selfish? Are you dishonest at times? Or you're honest all the time, irrespective of what the condition is? Great people are loving towards all. Ordinary people loving towards some selected people only. It can be a group, a community, a religion, a sect, or a country. But great people are the one who thinks about the whole world, thinks about the whole universe. That is the reason why Nelson Mandela is appreciated in India and Mahatma Gandhi is appreciated in, let's say, US. They have crossed the boundaries of national borders to become recognized. Rabindranath Tagore, recognized all over, right? Because these are the people who were not loving towards a particular community or a sect or a religion, but to all. Third is they work for the benefit of others. Ordinary people only work for self-benefit. So when they work, they will see what is my benefit. And the great leaders, they will see the benefit of others even before their own individual benefit. Now, I think Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation and not anyone else. Because he could have easily become the prime minister of the country if he wanted to, but he didn't do it, right? He made someone else the prime minister. So Understand this very clearly, that if you are looking for selfish benefits, the world can easily understand that. And the greatness at that point in time is recognized very clearly that are you great or are you ordinary? The great people make lives of others comfortable. Ordinary people make their own life comfortable. Great people have self-discipline. Ordinary people, not much of self-discipline. Great people courageous at all times, but ordinary people lose courage at difficult times. Great people makes others powerful. Ordinary people craves for their own power. You must have seen leaders who always try to boast about their powers. I am so and so. I am the principal. I am the vice principal. Or I am the coordinator. The moment you do that, you become an ordinary leader. Last but not the least, the great people does not care about who gets the credit and accept failures also bravely. Now, this was the story that our moderator started with, right? Does not care for the credit. And he says that the credit goes to the team and failure comes to me. Ordinary people wants to grab the whole credit, blames others in case of failures. So it's a very common thing. You must have seen that, success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. It is said like that, So why failure is an orphan? Because no one wants to accept the failure, but great people do it. So these are the few differences between a great leader or a great person and an ordinary person. Now, when you are in a situation, you need to check which of these, you belong to. These categories that I have shared over here. Now, the question is, why be great at all? Why do you want to become great? First is, climbing your personal and professional mountaintops makes you feel good about yourself. So once you climb up your professional mountaintop, you achieve something, it gives you a feeling of, I would say happiness. It's not pleasure. There is a difference between a pleasure and happiness. So once you become successful, it can give you pleasure. But when you climb up to the professional mountaintop with all the features that I told about a great person, you feel something that is happiness. It boosts your self-respect, heightens your self-image. This fills you with energy, faith, and joy. Now, self-image is very, very important. Now, self-image is not what you are to others, what you are to yourself. Now, when no one is seeing you, what you are. When no one is able to read your mind, what is your thought content? What do you think about? How do you act? What do you do when no one is watching? That is your self-image. Everyone tries to put up an outside image, exterior image. These are hypocrites. You cannot be a great leader by being a hypocrite. Third thing is achieving superb things with the gifts that are within you is one of the best ways to fill your life with more happiness. Now, understand one thing very clearly, You have all come to the world with a closed fist. God has sent a gift with each one of you. And you need to open up that fist and release the gift for the world. It will be very, very unfair if you carry your gift along with you to the next world, afterlife. Which is the richest place in the earth? Can anyone say? Which is the richest place? You can tell country, place, city, or a location. Which is the richest place in the world? Let's see what guesses you make. Put it in the chat box. Dubai, it's coming up, Dubai, okay. Home, okay, heart. Now, let me share what I think, okay. The richest place of the world is the graveyard, Shamshan. You know why? Because buried in the graveyard and burnt in the, cremation ground are businesses that have not been opened, factories that never saw the light of day, books that never got written, movies that never got released, and everything that you thought and the potential you had, you means the general human beings, they carry it to their graves. The gifts that they brought along with them, they carry it along with them to the graves, making the place richer and the world poorer. So it's said that you need to die poor and make the world rich. Don't carry your riches along with you to the graveyard. Open your fist and release whatever you are given by God and what you can do to change the world. That is greatness, right? So write the books that you ought to write, open the schools that you're supposed to open, start a venture that you thought of starting. Don't take it along with you to the grave and make that place rich. So Dubai is not the richest place. Remember, the graveyard can be the richest place, provided, or if you do not, release your gifts to the world. So that depends on entirely you, where you're going to carry your gift with, to the graveyard or give it to the world. So sure, leadership is about doing what's right versus what is easy. Now, leadership is never easy. Leadership is not contesting an election. Leadership is being, it's not about being popular. Leadership is not about playing to the gallery. Leadership is making those unpleasant decisions, telling those unpleasant sentences, telling the unpleasant truth is required. So leadership is about doing the right versus what is easy and being popular. Do what is right, right? So you must have heard about the person, I'll ask the name of the person, who was sent to the prison because he said the earth is not the center of the universe or the solar system, and the sun does not revolve around the earth. It's the earth which revolves around the sun. The church sentenced him to the prison because in those days, church used to take the legal decisions, right? And this person, when he was being sent to the prison, stamped his feet thrice on the ground and said, you can send me to the prison, but still the earth is going to revolve around the sun and not the sun around the earth. This person, Galileo Galilei, absolutely right. Lucas, it's Galileo, not Copernicus. So this is what, is telling the truth versus telling what people wants to hear. Now, if I talk about the master administrators and strategies of all time of our country, I'm pretty sure this gentleman will be there right at the top. Who is this person? Chanakya, right? It's Chanakya. And he has written a wonderful book, which I think every educator must read. That's nothing but none other than Arthashastra. A lot of translations are available on Flipkart and Amazon. Buy it and read it. And Arthashastra is a book which talks about how to run a kingdom. How to run a kingdom.
Dr. Sarah, just hold on. I had to make some changes in the settings.
Sure.
Yeah, done. You can have time.
Thank you. So this is about running a kingdom. Now, when you are a leader of a school, the school is your kingdom, right? So need to understand what Chanakya said about how to run a kingdom and what are the components of a kingdom. Now, if you are a leader, without knowing the components of a kingdom, you cannot run it, right? So anything you want to run, you need to know the parts of it. You want to run a television or a mobile phone, anything that you're operating, you need to know the parts. If I'm running a mobile phone, I need to know where is the start button, what are the batteries, what is a screen or touch screen, everything I need to know, right? So Chanakya said that if you are a leader, if you are a king, what your kingdom is made up of. Now look at this. These are the components of a kingdom. The first one is called the Swami. In Arthashastra, he mentions that. And Swami is none other than the leader. So you can safely imagine that you are here, the Swami, the leader. Now, if you are the leader, what are the other things that you need to understand and have? Amatya. Amatya is the mantri or the ministers that the king used to have. Why he used to have the Amatya? Because these are the wise men of the kingdom who used to guide the king and help him to make decisions. So if you are a king, you do not have the Amatya or the ministers around you. You are, making decisions all by yourself. You are, you're bound to go wrong somewhere. So the most successful rulers of the world are the ones who had, a courtroom full of wise men. Akbar the Great had a courtroom full of Navaratnas. So all the great kings and rulers that you've heard, You need to accumulate these gems and collect them and form your kingdom. So that's the reason a leader needs to find out people you're going to work with, who are going to be your advisors, your coordinators, your vice principals, your in charges. All these people are your amatya. The school management committee is also your part of your amatya. The parent members, the principals, all these representatives, if you just keep it for the namesake, you are not utilizing them, right? So amatya needs to be very, very important fact that you need to pay attention to. Third is the janapada, the citizens. Who are your citizens? Your citizens are the teachers, the staff of the school, and also the students of the school. How you deal with them, how you treat them. These are your citizens, the people who stay in that place of the country. So you need to take care of the citizens. Then there is Durg, the fort. It's a fortified city. Why the fortified city was needed? So that it can be immune from any sort of attack. A king who did not have a fort was vanquished by the other kings, and he lost his kingdom often. So it's very important to understand that you need to stay not in a normal circumstance, but in a fortified city. Now, in a school circumstance, what is a fortified city? A fortified city does not mean that you create a boundary wall 10 feet tall and with electric fencing. The fortified city is arranging your infrastructure in such a way that no matter what type of dangers come to your school, you are ready to face it. For example, I'll tell you, in the COVID times, many schools were not able to sustain or survive during the financial onslaught that happened because of COVID. Why? Because they didn't make the city fortified. How much savings you had to run the school, when the situations are bad. What is your protection? So protection is, what are the different protections? Physiological or physical protection, financial protection, reputation protection, and all these things. Those are the schools who suffered the most, who had a poor reputation during the COVID times. The parents were not happy. And these are the schools who faced the brunt, that parents formed groups and committees and came and did dharnas and all sorts of agitations, appealing to them that reduce the fee by 50%. But there are schools, and I'm pretty sure many of you might be the part of those schools, where the parents did not come with that a demand with similar intensity. Maybe by hearing others, they have asked once or twice for it, but that did not impact you. That is the fort that I'm talking about. That when situations become bad, how prepared you are for that. That's your fort. Next is the kosha, or the treasury. To run a kingdom, you need to be a master in treasury management. If many principals say that we are academicians, we do not know about accounts. You cannot be a king without knowing the accounts. You cannot be a king without knowing the finances. If you are a person or a leader who does not take care of the finance, then what will happen? Your kingdom will suffer. So if you are not good in accounts, someone else is. And remember, that's where this amatya came in. Narendra Modi may not know about accounts, but certainly he will keep a finance minister who knows about it, right? So this is how the kosha is to be managed. The treasury and the finances, you need to understand how to build up the finance of the school. Capacity building, not in terms of training alone, but also in terms of financial capacity building. Then you need to have the danda, that's the army. What is the army? Army is something that will help the king to rule the kingdom. How will you keep an army? You cannot keep army right now, right? Your security force at the gate is not your army. Your army is the policies of the school that you make. The policies of the school prevent people or students or teachers from deviating from the rule. In those days, the rule was there, and army men were kept to bring people to line if they are not listening to them. Right now, what do you have? You have the rules. You have the rules that you need to make and frame properly, and use those rules to keep your kingdom disciplined. And finally, mitra. Mitra is an ally or a consultant. If you do not have a mitra, you think that I know everything, I can run my kingdom by myself. It will never work. Even Akbar the Great needed allies. He made alliances with Rajput rulers. He married to make alliances. Jodha Bai and Akbar marriage was not a marriage in isolation. It was more of a treaty. It was more of an alliance between two kingdoms, right? So a ruler needs to be a one who can make allies. Without making allies, you cannot be an effective ruler. You cannot just sit on your chair and do your job by putting your head down and only making friends of the school teachers and community of the school. You need to go beyond that. You need to have key people as your friends in key positions. How well you know the education officer? How well do you know the local tehsildar? How well you know the local municipality head person? How well you know the nearby village man? How well you know a doctor, a pediatrician, or a orthopedic surgeon? Everything. You need to create a group of people around you who are your friends and allies from diverse fields. Because school is a mini community. The school is a small reflection of the society that is around you. So to run a society, you need all different types of people. So you need to make allies. So this is what Chanakya said about administration. And whether it worked or not, that's the question. Did it work? I'm pretty sure each one of you will say yes, it worked. Why? Because first of all, Chanakya was one such person who was able to make an ordinary boy playing with friends on an open field to defeat Dhanananda and establish a kingdom of his own. That's not a small achievement. And not only that, he converted him as one of the most successful rulers of our country of all times. So Chandragupta Maurya and then his grandson Ashoka, we all have heard about him. And let me tell you, those who do not know, that Chanakya even played a great role in Ashoka's establishment of his empire. His Arthashastra was followed by Ashoka as well. So this part I explained to you why, because these are your components of leadership that you need to understand. If you neglect any one of these, you cannot be an effective leader. Now I'll talk about today's main theme, that is, what is supervision? The English noun supervision derived from two Latin words. Super means above and videre means to see or observe. So when you're able to observe from above, now what do you observe and why from above? You observe from above because you'll be able to see the whole thing. If you observe an elephant from the side, you will see two legs and a tail. From another side, it's two legs and the trunk. And from another side, it may be the ears. But only from the top, you can see the bird's eye view. So a leader needs to have a bird's eye view in order to supervise. And what is that bird's eye view? The components that I told you. Look at the entire organization as a whole, not individual parts. In schools, supervision is aiding and guiding the teachers in their work by offering both moral support and scientific insight and guidance based on well-proven theories in the field of education and management. Now, in supervision school, you know that it's about guiding teachers in the work that they do. Supervision is also a medium of transmitting the skills, knowledge, and attitude of a particular professional to the other members of the professional. Now, who is asked to supervise? If you're a principal, whom do you pick up as a supervisor? You pick up one as a supervisor who is very skilled in his or her work. Now, when you make that person a supervisor, what do you expect? You expect the supervisor will create more employees like him or her. That's the reason you make that person a supervisor, right? So supervisor should be able to transmit his or her skills to the people that he or she is supervising. That's the whole objective. Now, why supervision is important? That's another question. What will happen if there's no supervisor at all? Any area of work should be supervised to be improved. If not, the quality of work will deteriorate over time. Supervision is a process of quality check to ensure that the desired quality is achieved through a process of quality control, and simultaneously the defective processes are eliminated. To make the words simpler, what does it mean? Supervision is important because you need to upgrade the quality of the product or service that you're giving. If you're not being supervised, you will lose your motivation and you will not be able to perform at the same level day after day. Now, let me ask this honest question to you, and you answer me honestly, whether a yes or a no. Let's assume that your principal or your management does not even observe you at all for consecutive 2 years, would you like that or you won't like that? First tell me that. L for like, N for NL for not like. Will you like your principal and management? They give you all the freedom. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to see what you're doing. Yes, not like. Do you think the quality of your work will remain same or it will become less? If it's same, you say same, S, or not same, NS. Is it going to be same? No one is observing. Will you do the same work? Right. Why? It's not because we love to be watched. It's not because we love to be supervised, but supervision can be a motivation as well. Supervision can be a motivation as well. As long as the supervision is a motivation, you would like a supervisor to come to your class and observe your period, check your work. The moment it becomes corrosive, you don't want that anymore. That time you feel if they're away, the better, right? If there is no one who is checking your work, you will not perform because you do not get the credit of what you're doing. If you're doing wonderful work, no one is observing. What is the point of doing that? A singer will not sing for an individual, even if he's paid more. He sings to a stadium full because more than the money, applause or appreciation is important at times to do your work. So I hope you understood what I'm talking about in terms of supervision. Next. What is a process? Now, this is something that you need to understand. But before you understand that, I would like to tell you about this particular slide, which you need to understand very clearly as a supervisor. A supervisor needs to understand the role of a supervisor is not to supervise people, but processes. Now, this is the first blunder people do. When they become a principal or a vice principal or a coordinator, they think, now I have got a few people to run. I will run them. I will control them. I have become a controller of people. That's the first blunder that they do. Supervision is or was never about controlling people and will never be about controlling people. Supervision is always about controlling the process. If you try to control the people without controlling the process, you're going to face failure. So while supervising the process, care needs to be taken to ensure that people associated with the process needs to be treated with respect and dignity that they deserve. Every human being deserves the dignity. So when you're supervising people and you think that I'm supervising them, you're bound to get an ego. So that's what is told in the third point. The moment the supervisor shifts from supervision of the process to supervision of the people mindset, she or he develops an ego, which becomes a barrier in effective supervision. And biased observation, non-observation, and mal-observation steps in. The moment you shift your mindset that I'm not supervising the process, I'm supervising the people, you become happy for the people who flatter you. You become happy for the people, about the people who praise you in front of you. And then it leads to mal-observation and non-observation. Someone who doesn't wish you good morning or good afternoon, you become annoyed. That teacher met me in the corridor, did not wish me good morning. How come the teacher did like that? He didn't respect me, the principal. And then whatever good the teacher is doing, you will not observe it. It will be a mal-observation or wrong observation. Similarly, someone who is coming and flattering you, you will overlook the mistakes that person is doing because you don't want to lose a flatterer. Because now you have been driven from process to person. Shift of process to person happens, you are doomed as a leader. That's the first thing that you need to understand. So never try to control people, try to control the process. So what is the process? That was a question. So the process is a sequence of interdependent and linked procedures, which at every stage consume one or more resources like employee time, energy, machines, money to convert inputs into desired outputs. So you are a principal who is supposed to convert the inputs into outputs. That is the process. And you're surrounded by processes, right? Can I name a few processes or you would like to do it? The first one is a TLP, teaching learning process. We call it a process, right? Second, what else is a process? The admission process. What is the next process? The appraisal process. Next, the tabulation process, result preparation process, everything, the cleaning process, everything is a process in an organization, even in a school. So you need to run the process properly. So these outputs then serve as inputs for the next stage. So output of one stage may be the input of another stage. And process is something that is always interlinked. It does not stay in isolation. Now, I'll pause for a few seconds and check if, if it's clear with each one of you. Is it clear? Does it make sense what I'm talking? You are able to relate it easily with your work? Yes, no? Good. Thank you. Fantastic. So now that we know what supervision is, now that we know what a mindset of a supervisor should be, now that we know that what are the qualities of being a great leader, let's move ahead to understand the technical sides of supervision. So supervision is composed of these following steps. What are the following steps? First one is checking. Now, these are different terms of supervision, right? Checking, scrutiny, assessment, guidance, and follow-up. What is checking? If a task is done or not done is the lowest level of supervision. So you go and tell someone, go and check if the teacher has given the homework or not given the homework. Did the children, who submitted the homework, is the copy corrected or not corrected? Yes, no, yes, no. That's checking. It's almost like you have traveled in a railway train, and there's a checklist of the bathroom cleaning. Floor cleaned, yes, no. Basin cleaned, yes, no. So yes, no is checking. So and understand that is the lowest level of supervision, because you're just supposed to check whether it's happening or not happening. The next level is the scrutiny. How is the quality of the work exceeds, meets, or falls short of the desired level? Now, this is where the little bit technical expertise is needed when you do a scrutiny. For checking, technical expertise is not needed. Anyone can do it. For supervision, at the scrutiny level, you are deciding parameters met, exceeds, or falling short. E, M, and we say it approaching, meeting, and exceeding. You must have seen many schools have report cards where they analyze the students like that. Level of child in English, meeting, exceeding, or approaching. So this is what you can do for your bunch of teachers that you have as well. And when you say meet, exceed, or fall short, you need to understand that you can only tell that when you have the desired parameter clearly mentioned, that what is that you're looking for. If you have a litmus scale, you know that the 7 is in the middle, then you understand that this is a neutral, and above that is acidic, and below that is basic. So you need to have a point which you have to define for your organization, that what is the expectation from the employees. Unless that parameter is decided, you cannot tell that they are meeting or exceeding or falling short. So defining of the parameter is very, very important, which is to be done by the leader again. Now this part, how to define that, it's there in my part 2. I really do not have time in 1 hour to explain the entire thing, but understand it is very important to define the parameter. Next, assessment. How well a work is done. If not done well, what are the deficiencies? Now here you go for an assessment which is above scrutiny. Assessment, when you do, you understand how well the work is done. Meeting, approaching, or scrutiny, but how well? Is it a 9? Is it a 10? Is it a 5? You categorize that, right? Or scale it up. And if not done well, what are the deficiencies? So here, the scrutiny person only will tell meet, exceed, or approach. But assessment person will tell where is the drawback, where is the deficiency. And that deficiency has to be given as a feedback to the one you are observing or supervising. The next step is the guidance. What should be done to improve? Suggestions in detail to the supervised. Now, when you guide, that's one level above the assessment. When you're guiding someone, you are telling the person how to do the work properly. That is guidance. To tell the people how to do the work properly, you need to be an expert in that field. You cannot, you must have seen that thing. If you're a principal, your subject is not mathematics, you basically avoid observing maths teachers' periods. It's a survey that I have done personally. I've seen that those whose subject is not mathematics, maybe the principal is from bio stream, they will hardly observe a maths period. They don't do it. Even if they do not give the feedback, because they don't know that what the teacher is teaching is supposed to be that way or some other technique may have been used, unless and until he or she uplifts his skill. So that is the reason, whether you are from a bio stream or an English stream, you need to have a mastery of different subjects. Maybe not the subject knowledge, but at least the pedagogy level of the subject. Otherwise, you will be having a hard time controlling those subject teachers. And finally, the follow-up. Follow-up suggestions are implemented. If so, to what effect? Now you have given an assessment feedback. You have given a guidance. Is it being followed or not followed? If a feedback on a follow-up is not taken from time to time, people will not follow what you are telling them to do. They will tell, "Oh, principal एक बार बोलती है, फिर भूल जाती है." She tells once and forgets. So no point doing it. Let her tell, listen from one ear, throw it out from the other ear. She will never ask next time. Once in a blue moon, she will come and check, give 5 suggestions, and then she will not follow. People know that. Your staff, they are very, very intelligent. So that is to be avoided. Once you tell someone that you improve in this 1 or 2 parameters, you need to follow up that thing in the next observation. And you need to inform that I will be observing you after 15 days again, or 7 days again, or tomorrow, and show me the difference. So when you do that, the change will happen. I hope you got my point, right? So these are the different levels of supervision. Now let's come to the who can do it. Who are the ones who should be able to do checking? Who are the ones who will be able to do scrutiny? So checking can be done even by the same level colleagues. So you can use one teacher to check the work of another teacher. Maybe notebook correction, maybe the, whether the homework is being given in the class or not. So that checking anyone can do, and a teacher can be asked to check another teacher. And that is the reason cross-checking is a term that you must have heard about. You can check me and I can check you. No level is required. When you go to scrutiny, when you are able to understand meeting, exceeding, or approaching, it has to be taken up by a rank, one rank up, at least one rank up. So to understand meeting, exceeding, or approaching, it has to be one level up. So you need in charges, coordinators, right? Next, assessment is to be done by seniors like principal and vice principal. The coordinators can do scrutiny, but when you go for assessment of teachers, it has to be the principal or the vice principal because of the hierarchy of the organization. And these are the people, they are authorized to go for an assessment. Next, the guidance and follow-up are done by expert in the subject, like the principal, the HODs, the trainers, and the subject matter experts. Now, why do you have HODs? Because as I said, Amatya is very important. The Council of Ministers, the area that is great to you, mathematics, science, or English, you use your technical help, that is HOD, to solve your problem. So that is where the guidance and follow-up comes into existence. So I hope you understood very clearly that who is going to do the checking, scrutiny, assessment, guidance, and follow-up. Let's move ahead. What are the characteristics of a good supervisor? To be able to supervise effectively, a supervisor has to be in possession of some specific characteristics. He should be learned in his subject. So without knowing your subject, many principals, they have forgotten the subjects. Did a post-graduation long ago. You ask them the subject matter right now, they will not be able to answer. Moment it happens to you, trust me, you will lose your respect in your staff members. And that is the reason the new annual pedagogical plan, APP, has come out where the leader is a pedagogical leader. He's not an administrator. He's not a CEO. The principal is a pedagogical leader. So to become a pedagogical leader, you need to understand the pedagogy and your subject matter. The next, he should be sympathetic. By having this Hitler tendency, you can never run people. People do not listen to their parents these days. And you think you will be able to use a hard voice and get the things done? Very difficult, let me tell you. So be sympathetic. He or she should exhibit a good degree of patience. If you're very impatient, you will lose your respect because people know every drop of the hat, this person is angry. So your anger will lose sense. So patience is the key for any leadership. Wait and observe. Give time. He or she should have expertise in work and guidance. So whatever you're supervising, you should know the work. If you're telling how to make a lesson plan, you should be a person who is able to make a lesson plan better than anyone else. If you're telling a person how to teach, you should have a better pedagogical knowledge than others. So whatever is your area, use that. Now, I can understand everyone cannot be, master of all trades. But then if you're not a master of all trades, bring someone who is a master of that trade. That is the reason trainers are brought into the schools. That is the reason HODs are kept. That is the reason subject matter experts are invited to come and go for an audit. These are the reasons where the schools, good schools, progressive schools, they call for external audits. Why? To make that check, that scrutiny, that assessment. Above all, he or she should be sororal or fraternal. You have to understand, when you're guiding people, you're handling them, you're handling a process, not the person, right? So whatever goes wrong in the process, for example, you have your son or daughter, you want to teach him or her how to bake a cake. Now you see that whatever you have told earlier, your child has forgotten and doing something entirely different. What will you do? Will you, throw out the child of the home? Get out. I don't need you anymore. Or will you tell, no, see, don't do this. This is where the process is going wrong. Do this. Put this temperature of the microwave. The same thing needs to be done in the school. Something is going wrong. Don't shout. Show where it can be made correct. Rectify the process, because you are there to rectify the process. Who will get angry? Those who don't have control on the process. If you do not have control on anything, you will become angry. Why you will become angry? Because that is the only thing that you can do. Shout at failures. Why you are shouting at failures? Because things are out of your control. And why things are out of your control? Because you don't know it. Person who knows the process, who knows that, come what may, I'll get the people out of it. He will sit back and observe. He will sit back. Chalo karo. Something goes wrong, I'm there. No, that is like having a Sachin Tendulkar in the dressing room. They tell this openers, go and play. Something goes wrong, big boss is going to come out with the bat, score a century. So when you have that impression among your staff, you become a great leader. But if if the openers get out and you fire them, how come you get out? You're not there in the next match. You're not going to survive as a leader. So this is something that you need to have. Treat them as your brother or sister, that how you would have guided them in case instead of that teacher, it was your sister or brother. You would have tried to hide their mistakes, teach them, train them, and send them again. That's how it is to be done. Why do you think Saurav Ganguly became such a great captain? He told Virendra Sehwag, even if you fail in 10 matches, score a 0, I'll still keep you in the team. Your team place is guaranteed. And Virendra Sehwag could get all the guts to go out on the field and hit a ball for a 6 and, score a double 100 by hitting a 6. He knows that if it goes wrong, my captain will not take any action on me. He will tell me what to rectify, but I will be still in the team. That security needs to be given to your staff members. So the role of the supervisor is divided into 3 distinct parts: organizational, functional, and behavioral. So you need to understand the organization. You need to understand the functions of the organization and the behavior of the people. Now, once you understand these 3 things, you will be able to train, motivate, advise, direct, coach, support, and help them to reach the goal. Now, what is a team? I'll very quickly cover this. A team is a small number of people. Now, small doesn't mean like 2 or 3. Even a 500-member team can be a small compared to the population of a country, or the volume of the whole thing. For example, a team, cricket team, 11 members. So what is 11 members? It has been selected from all the states. So it's a small team, right? So team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to common purpose, performance goals, for which they are mutually accountable. So you see, everyone is riding the same bicycle. If one pedals fast, the entire bicycle will move fast. One pedals in the reverse direction, it will hinder others as well. So this is a team. Their performances and goals are interrelated, right? So to become a good leader, you need to know what is a team dynamics. Now let me ask you this question. How many already know the dynamics of a team? Please tell me so that I can either be fast or slow, because I'll have another just half an hour for the entire session. So very quickly tell me, do you know the steps of the team? Yes or no? The steps of team formation and how it moves. How many know it, right? Yes. Why? If you do not know, write an N. No. Okay, fine. Then very quickly, I'll tell you what are the stages of team development. If you know that, you will be able to handle the team better. The first one. So see, these are the stages of team formation: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. These are the stages through which every team will move, and the leader has a different role for each of these stages. Now, what is forming is the setting of the stage. The team becomes formed. You come and take up a project, any project. That is the formation of the team. You prepare for the next board exam. You can pick up your team for that. You're preparing for the, some capacity building of the school. You make a team. So whatever project you are taking, whatever is your plan for the next 1 year, 6 months, you can make a team for that. You're going to pick the right person to help you in your work. It's not like one team you pick up for lifetime. Indian cricket team, have you seen every match they are selected? Every tournament, I would say. They want to go for World Cup, they are picked up, selected, made into a team. Maybe for the next Australasia Cup, the same team will be picked, but again, it will be a team selection. Then the same team will be picked, or it may be different. So team selection and formation is very important. Now, this is a honeymooning phase. You're good to me, I'm good to you. The leader is goody-goody, and the employees are goody-goody to the leader. So the leader at this point in time, his role is to pick the right people on the bus and remove the wrong people from the bus. Facilitate team to identify goals. So they set the goal and ensure that team development of shared mental model. So everyone is thinking that that is our goal. That is the formation stage. After the formation stage happens, this stage is inevitable. The storming stage. What happens in the storming stage? In the storming stage, people say, you are in my territory. Who told you to do this? The principal asked me to do this. How you are interfering in my work? That is my work. That is my designation. That is my position. So people try to gather their clout. This is my area. You are intruding in my area. So that is storming. In storming, you confront people. There are sub-groomings, conflicts, feeling of being stuck to something, rebellious feelings come up. And during this phase, there is a fight that happens in your team. And you must have seen that this is a common scenario in the staff room. In the staff room, people are bound to fight with each other. Whether you do it, whatever way you run the school, there will be conflicts. Now, in this session, I'll tell you ways of conflict management as well. But remember, storming stage is inevitable. It's bound to come. Then what is the solution? When you have a storming stage, how to come out of it? Coming out of it is the norming stage. In the norming stage, you tell people, preferably in clear written words, what are the key performance indicators of that employee? What are the areas in which you will assess the employee? What is his territory and what is not his territory? What is his jurisdiction and what is not? And clearly demarcating the roles in form of a job role sheet given to each employee. John Wright, the coach of Indian cricket team, used to pass on a slip every evening under the door of the players, telling them what they're expected to do in the next day of the match. This is what norming is. You norm or you name the roles and responsibilities. Once you do that, once you understand that this is my role, the captain expects me to do this, I will be focusing on that area. I will not be focusing in an area to impress the captain, which the captain does not want me to do, or the principal does not want me to do. The principal has told me, please take care of the remedial teaching. I'm going to focus on that. I was earlier than that trying to go into, let's say, classroom setting up, how the furniture will be arranged, which was given to another teacher. I was interfering. I didn't know my role. But now I will be focusing only to the point where the principal has asked me to, or any leader has asked me to. That is the stage, norming stage. And once the norming stage happens, performance is bound to come. That is the reason India won the World Cup in 2011. The norming was wonderfully done, right? Or any success. Apple phone, it came out. Microsoft came up with its products. Everywhere where there is a success, understand that performance has come only after these stages. And after the performing is the adjourning stage. Your goals are achieved, raise the toast, celebrate, break the team. Take a new project, form a new team. Unless you do that, if you keep the same team, their motivation level will go down. So every time, make sure you do a new project, new thing. Any project. It can be a preparation for a board exam, as I said. It can be a preparation, setting off the Ek Bharat Shreshth Bharat program, or it's Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Create a team, form a team. You get an opportunity, create a team, let the team go through these stages. And to minimize the storming stage, you have to do the norming. Keep that in mind. Now, there are different styles of supervision. I'll very quickly cover that because you may be knowing these. The first one is the driver or the controller. Either my way or the highway. As simple as that. So these are the people who have that type of attitude. Follow me or you're out, sacked. For information, it doesn't mean that these people are not great leaders. Steve Jobs was one of them. My way or highway. He used to sack people like anything. People were very, very afraid of Steve Jobs, but he was a great leader, right? So potential strength is they get the things done, determined, requiring, thorough, decisive, efficient, and direct. On the other hand, weakness is inattentive behavior. They don't listen to you because they don't want. They will only do what they want, right? So they will not listen to you. Dominating, unsympathetic, demanding, critical, and impatient. These are the qualities of a my way or highway driver. Next is a persuader. A persuader involves and works with others, personable, stimulating, enthusiastic, and innovative. So these are the person who loves to convince others. You must have seen the principles. They will call the teachers, come here, I'm going to do this, convince. They will take the time to convince people. So these are called persuaders. What are the potential weakness of these people? Hard time following systems or processes. They do not follow systems. They are people who try to, run the show by convincing others. Image building, convincing, they will do that way. Opinionated, undependable, and reactionary. They are very, very emotional people. They run the show by their emotions. They will not run it through a process. Next, analyzer or a theorist. Who is an analyzer or a theorist? He's a person whose potential strength is great at organizing, industrious, persistent, serious, orderly, and methodical. These are the people who are data driven. They will follow ERPs, employees resource planning, MIS tools, management information system, want reports on Excel sheets. They will be data driven. So these people are analysts. They will analyze, data driven. The weakness for these people can have trouble when action needs to be taken immediately. They are so data dependent, they cannot take spot decisions. So once they become data driven, they will ask for a data before they take a decision. The next is uncommunicative and critical. Why uncommunicative? Because for them, what you say is not important. What is there on the paper is important. Data does not tell that you're working. Your class data does not show that you are doing a great job in the class. Your score is this. For the last 3 months or 6 months is this. So they will be result or report driven. They do not see the inputs that the teacher is giving, maybe, right? So that is an analyst. There's an amiable person or an affiliator. What he does, his potential strength is to build relationships, cooperative, supportive, dependable, and helpful. Potential weaknesses does not want to change, conforming, uncommitted, and hides true feeling. So this is a sweet talker. He will or she will talk very sweetly with people, get the jobs done. Even the employees of the staff knows that my principal has a very sweet tongue, which is also a knife in one way. Chaku hai, but meetha chaku hai. It will cut very sweetly. So I once heard an administrator tell that, I am so diplomatic that when I say go to hell, I tell it in a way that people actually wait for it. They want to go to hell. I tell it in such a way that it seems like hell is a wonderful place. So that is an amiable person. He will try to do it in that way. So now in the next, I'll wrap up in the next 15 minutes. So before I come to that, very quickly, let me know, are you getting what I'm telling? Whatever I'm telling right now, you're able to understand and follow. Is it you're able to relate that to your work? Does it seem important for you that yes, it will help you in some way? Yes, good. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, so now would you like to know how to manage a conflict? This is one of the very important management techniques of any organization, conflict resolution. How to manage conflict and what are the different ways of managing conflict. This is something that I'm going to tell you. Let's go ahead. Now there are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tools of conflict management. When to use which one? Now let me tell you, you cannot tell this one is good and that one is bad. You need to use it according to the situation. And the better way you know how to use it in which situation, you become a better conflict manager. So the first one is avoiding. Avoiding is what? Now you look at this thing, I'm shifting this to the diagram that is there on your screen. Look at the diagram. Now in the diagram you see on one side it's written importance of achieving your goal and importance of relationship. Now there are two things. conflict, when you're resolving, you have to see what I'm trying to achieve by resolving the conflict. Is it I'm going nearer to the goal, or I'm maintaining a good relationship? Conflict resolution will have only two outcomes: relationship maintenance or reaching to your desired goal. Now, depending on these things, which style to use. So first one is avoiding. In avoiding, parties are aware of conflict, but choose not to acknowledge it or attempt to resolve it. Now, when you do it, you see avoiding over it is when one or both parties seek to suppress the conflict. Why you want to suppress the conflict? I'll tell you the reason, but understand this is the style called avoiding style. Accommodating style is what? One party sacrifices his or her beliefs and want to allow the other party to win. So it is said that accommodating is I lose, you win. Why? Why will that happen? Again, I'll explain you. But remember that. Compromising is you also lose, I also lose. We both sacrifice something. That's compromise. Then comes controlling, a win-lose approach. One party wins, the other loses. And collaborating is a win-win situation where you also win and I also win. Now, when to practice what? Very clearly see this. Avoiding. You're going to use avoiding when neither the goal nor the relationship is important. So why will you pay your attention to solve a conflict when by doing that, neither the relationship nor the goal is going to be met? So ignore it. There are lots many conflicts in the staff room. You are supposed to just turn your ear deaf. Sunnai nahi. Why? Because that is going to, help you in a way that it's going to save your time. Because by solving that conflict, the energy that you put neither will take you nearer to your goal, nor the relationship that you're bridging up will help you in any way. So that is the avoiding stage. Second, accommodating. Accommodating is when the relationship is more important than the goal. So here I say, okay, I lose, you win. Why? Or the principle says, let's say Mr. Joseph and Mr. Patil, let Mr. Patil's word be kept this time, but next time I'll make sure, Mr. Joseph, you will have your way. So you say, fine, I'm okay with that. If next time my case will be, heard and I will be able to do it, the things I want in my way, let this time be done by Mr. Patil's way. So that is called accommodating. For a future benefit, you sacrifice your present position, and that is called accommodating. Okay, I'm accepting that, but in future, my words will be kept. Compromising is a lose-lose approach. Why? Each party gives up something it wants. Both goal and relationship are important, but there is a lack of time. Now here, goal is also important, relationship is important. You don't have time to do all these things. So you go for compromise. You don't do this, get this thing done in this way. So when compromising is to be done, you do not have the time to resolve the conflict and build up the relationship. The second thing is, in compromising, no one is getting their feeling of winning. They're compromising to meet a goal which is more important than anything else. More important than how I feel, more important than my motivation level. It's important to meet the goal right now. Then you go for compromise, where no one's word is kept, everyone is sacrificing their thought process. Control, a win-lose approach. The boss said very clearly now, or the principal says, Mr. Patil, your words will not be kept in future. I don't give any guarantee. But right now, Mr. Joseph is right. Because that is the truth. So when you have a truth where one party wins at the expense of other, the goal is important, but not the relationship, then you go for controlling. You say, get the work done. I don't care what you feel. I don't care if you feel like you've lost for the moment. I don't promise you any benefit for the next future. But right now, what he is saying, that has to be done. That conflict resolution is controlling. So when you do that, when the goal is above everything else. And finally is collaborating, where you have a, what you want and what I want, and find out the common place, the intersecting place where it's a win-win situation. So all big business deals happens because of this. An important point to understand here is that here the goal and the relationships are equally important. You cannot sacrifice a relationship to meet a goal. So when, let's say, Vladimir Putin signs the deal with the US president, they will go for collaboration. Or Ratan Tata signs a deal with Mukesh Ambani, they will not go for anything else but collaboration. They will not go for compromise. They will not go for accommodating, nothing like that. So it's always a collaboration when goal and relationships are of equal importance. Now, as a leader, you need to understand where to put what. What is the relationship? What is the, a pre-primary teacher is fighting with your maths head. Do you really care? Do you really care? They will never work together. If they don't have good relationship for the entire school tenure, it doesn't matter anymore. So that is what is collaborating. So very quickly, let's understand how to supervise and pieces of supervision. One is called stock supervision, where you supervise the entire thing. You supervise each piece of work individually, is called stock supervision. And this type of supervision is normally done for novices, newcomers. New teacher joins, you observe every period of the teacher to understand. You take every copy that the teacher has corrected to understand. Stock supervision is checking the entire bulk of work that a person is doing. Opposite to that is select supervision. Here you don't check everything. You select randomly and check. This is done for people who are more tenured. You know that the person normally does work, so you are randomly checking. That's select supervision. Random supervision, when you take a round in your school, you enter a class randomly. That's random supervision. You need to check what is happening in a random way. Random blood sugar test, you've heard about it. Why do you check random blood sugar? To understand at any given point in time, what type of sugar your body is maintaining. So to understand the normal level of a teacher, you observe a teacher by informing him, he will be well prepared. So you randomly check to understand what is the normal preparation level of the teacher when he is not informed about the observation of the class. So that is random supervision or fleeting supervision. Periodic supervision is informed supervision. I'll not check your period every Wednesday, second period. You tell that to the teacher, he or she comes prepared. That's periodic supervision. Continual supervision, on a regular basis, when you're supervising someone, it's continual. You supervise it once in a year, once in 2 years, it's not continual supervision. And finally is supervision by exception, when you only supervise when there is a complaint or there is an abnormal scenario. Normally, after a complaint, when you supervise, it's a supervision by exception. Now, in the next 5 minutes, I will explain you this Maslow's need of hierarchy theory, without which you cannot be a good leader, without understanding this theory of management. What is this? Maslow's hierarchy of needs says an employee, when he comes and starts doing his work or starts his professional career, he has physiological needs that must be met. So the salary of the person becomes important, working hours becomes important, benefits that you offer, perks, HRA, vehicle allowance, whatever you're doing, PF, these becomes important when a person takes up a job. So physiological needs need to be met first if you want good employees and you want to supervise them in a proper way. Now, once their physiological need is met, after that, they have a safety need. How safe is my job in the organization? How safe I am in this, school? That safety needs comes from the behavior of the management and the principal. Now, once the safety need is there, it does not mean that you may compromise the physiological need. The beauty of this cycle or triangle is each stage that you're seeing, the previous stage has to be included in that. Otherwise, it will not work out. So safety needs should include physiological needs. So now, every first of the month, your salary gets credited. You are not motivated by your salary anymore. Your management has made you feel safe. You're not going to lose your job, you know that. The next thing that will keep you stuck to the organization is the sense of love and belonging. So love and belonging is something for which employees don't change jobs. It is said that an employee joins a good organization and leaves a bad manager. Why? Because that love and belonging sense, the leaders are not able to give to their employees. If you're able to do that, you can make wonders. Next, once that happens, next comes the term of esteem. Are you having rewards and recognition Saturdays in your school? Maybe once in a month? Are you having where you're calling the staff members and appreciating them even with a pen or a letter in the school head that you have done this wonderful work? Have you taken up a bulletin board in your one corner of the staff room where you have put eyes and you're writing, we are observing you, and you notice certain things the teacher is doing, did not point to, bring it to your notice, but you have seen that happen and you're telling the teacher, I saw it, you did it, I appreciate. That is what makes the difference, the esteem. And after the esteem, for quite some time, people look for self-actualization. That is a stage will come only when you have crossed all these stages and you have a sort of a understanding of who you really are and what is the purpose of your life. So you search for that purpose. Albert Einstein was writing in a Jewish farm till the time he understood the principle of self-actualization, where he understood I'm not here born here to write the accounts. He came up with E is equal to MC square. So self-actualization is understanding the purpose of your life. And in that point in time, money will not matter, safety will not matter, belonging will not be exciting you, your self-actualization will do. And that is the reason you must have heard about people like Walt Disney, or people leaving their secured jobs and taking up something as their life's goal, right? So very quickly, last 2 slides, factors that motivate us: add fun in the workplace, provide constructive feedback. Now, feedback is a process where you need to give with 3 A's. What is a 3A? 3A format of feedback is whenever you're calling an employee to give a feedback, the first A is appreciate. You won't listen to anyone who is not appreciating you. So first A is appreciate. Second A is ask. Do you think this could have been done that way? Do you think by doing this activity, you could have explained better? And then third A is advise. But if you start the other way, you start with an advice, your class, I observed it was not so good. You need to do this. After 1 or 2 sentences, deaf ears, the hands go up like this in a defensive posture, and people stop listening to you. They are busy defending themselves. We are all good in defense. Why? Because we need to protect our image and our ego. So the moment you advise first, ego protection comes in. You appreciate first, arms open up. The moment the arms open up, ears open up, then you ask the question, the person answers openly, then you advise, your advice will be taken into account. So you must have tried that, the men can try that with their wives as well. You try to advise, you don't wear that sari, you wear this one, they will be very angry on you. But you appreciate, you are looking wonderful with the sari. But this hairband would have gone better with that. So when you say that, ask a question, it will work out. Next, encourage responsibilities and leadership. Promote special interaction and teamwork. I've showed you how team works. What are the things you need to do? Tolerate learning errors, be patient. Promote job ownership. Empower teachers. Make them believe that they are the owner of that work, not that you are the owner and they are doing it for you. Develop goals and challenges for all employees. Make them stretch. Let them just stretch a little bit and reach to the top of the almirah to bring down something, not something that they get comfortable. Take them out of the comfort zone. Provide lots of encouragement, and appreciation should be part of your repertoire, and develop measurement that shows performance increase. So how to understand your performance is increasing or not? Have a method or mechanism to measure that, which is again in my part 2 or 3 of that program that I was talking about, how to measure the performance of a teacher. Can we really measure the teaching quality? Yes, we can. How to do that? That's in a different part altogether, but you need to design something like that. And factors which demotivate us: staff room politics, unclear expectation, lot of unnecessary rules, unproductive meetings, long meetings without any productive outcome, withholding information only to yourself, providing criticism, tolerating poor performance. Now, when I say patience, it does not mean that you tolerate poor performance. You have to give a feedback in a proper way. Take steps against poor performance. If you do not take action against poor performance, the good performers will lose their motivation. Jack Welch set up in his organization something that is called a convection current. What was that? You must have seen the water boiling. Something that is being boiled, the heat is at the bottom. So the water that is heated at the bottom becomes heated, superheated, gets light, go high up. Again at the top, it becomes cold, comes down, gets heated, again goes up. So he set the same thing up. He said, I will be sacking the lowest bottom 10% of my employees. They will be shown the pink slip out of the organization. The top 10% handsomely rewarded, and the remaining average increments. So when that happened, no one wanted to be at the bottom 10 because they knew severe steps will be taken. So that's what I'm talking about. Poor performance needs to be checked. Treat teachers unfairly is again something that is wrong, and underutilize the capability of your teachers. If you utilize the MSc teacher in pre-primary, you're not doing a justice. No? So that is what you need to do. So with that, I come to the conclusion of this initial part of the management program that I was talking about. So good boss makes his men realize they have more ability than they think they have, so that they consistently do better work than they thought they could. You must have read Ramayana. Hanuman was not aware of what he could have done, Bajrangbali. It was Jambavan who gave the first motivational speech in history. He motivated Hanuman that you are capable of doing this, and then he jumped that sea and reached Sri Lanka to meet Sita. That is mythology. But again, remember this, that Valmiki was able to give and pronounce a mythological motivational speech as well, which can motivate someone to a level that he turns to Bajrangwali from what he was feeling like, I'm a slight monkey, small monkey. So that is what motivational talk can do. And as a leader, if you know Maslow's hierarchy, if you know the team formation stages, if you know how to resolve a conflict, if you know how to operate a process, and you know the 7 principles of Chanakya, Amatya, relationship building, those are the points I have covered in my other topics, other modules of the management program, which maybe we can take up some other day. But you need to be a master of these things. And then a 360-degree feedback really helps the principal to understand where he or she is. With this, I come to the conclusion of this program. I have left my WhatsApp number on the screen. In case you have any queries, you can always reach out to me. And it's 8:01, so I've taken 1.5 hours probably, but I couldn't have managed it with just 1 hour. So sorry if I took a little bit extra time, but I hope it was worth it. Over to you, Salam sir, or moderator.
Bhagya
Thank you
ma'am.
so much. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Swaroop, sir. That was a wonderful, it was an enriching session that you've conducted today. We are really enlightened with your presence, sir. And I think we have so much to take away from today's session. I also think that I'm really sure that all participants here would agree with the same. So here, if we can have a small question answer session from the participants. Dear audience, if you have any questions from our esteemed resource person, you can either raise your hand or type a question in the chat box. Anybody, if you have any questions you would like to ask, sir. Yes, 2 participants have raised hand.
Lata ma'am, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a wonderful session, Dr. Swaroop Datta and the entire team. To the first person, I have a question. Now, when there is a very poor performance, we know that there are, poor performance amongst the teachers. You talked about making the staff feel safe or secure, the Maslow's first 2. So is it important to make them feel that their job is secure however they perform? Is the question audible?
Yeah, it was not very audible, but whatever I could figure out was, were you asking that what needs to be done if a teacher is underperforming? Is that what you were asking in a nutshell? Lata ma'am?
Lata ma'am, if you could please repeat your question.
Now I got unmuted. Yes, sir, this is my question. Like, how do you handle people who just don't get motivated, who are happy with the basics that they are getting?
All right, let me answer that first, right?
Yes.
So what to do in case you find underperformance? Now, when there is an underperformance, there are 2 reasons for that. What is the reason? One is the skill issue. The person does not have the skill. Second is the will issue. So you can categorize each thing in either of these. Either it's a skill, lack of skill, or lack of will. Now there are 3 ways in which you manage a team. And these 3 things are coaching, counseling, mentoring. Now you need to understand whom to coach, whom to counsel, and whom to mentor. Now when it's a novice, a newcomer, you go for mentoring. Mentoring is hand-holding. You will understand that this person is bound to fail initially because he or she is technically not having the skill. And that is the reason you are there. If everyone was performing well and everyone was a blockbuster hit, then why the principal is needed at all or a leader is needed at all? Your requirement is there only because these people are there who need the help and need the support. So you need to mentor them. Start from the scratch. Assume that they don't know anything. Train them up. Second, there are people who are very tenured and then they're still underperforming. If they need skill, you train them up. Again, It may not need mentoring. It needs capacity building and training. That's the reason CBSE is highlighting, or NEP is telling 50 hours of CPD. Why? Because without training, as you know, the sharpening of the axe has to be done. But if there is a will issue, that time you need to have a counseling session. That time you don't talk about the process, the skill. You talk about what is wrong with the teacher. The teacher was a brilliant performer earlier. Is there something wrong that is in the, at home? If there is a fight between the husband and wife, if the mother-in-law is creating a problem for that lady teacher, or the child is sick, anything can be a cause. So once you understand the reason by counseling process, and counseling is again not advising. Counseling is more of listening to the person with your open ears. When I do counseling, people pay me just to listen to them. I don't tell anything. I go for a psychological counseling session. I sit there for 1 hour and just listen. Yes. And they give me 500 rupees before they go out. So understand what is the value of listening. So that is counseling. You don't need to advise. People don't need advice. They need someone to listen to. And once you do it, it will be solved. So that is what is the will issue thing. And motivation. Now, motivation factor, which you have different categories of people. Some people get motivated by money. Some people are, they are typically called lap dogs. You have seen a Spitz. You caress that lap dog on the lap and they get motivated. So these are the people whom you want to do. Babu, ajao, karo. That's the way. Some people are footballs. They get motivated only when you kick them. So you need to understand in which category it is. You kick a lap dog, she is or he's out of the organization. And you treat a football like a lap dog, he or she will stop doing the work. So very important to understand that some people who needs motivation by good behavior, some people need motivation by harsh behavior, some people needs motivation by money, but the intelligent and the well-read person, Chanakya says this, not me. Chanakya says, whoever is well educated, only one thing can motivate that person, that is truth. So when you talk about that person, what is the truth and what is, the real facts, that person gets motivated. So motivation is a skill. Again, I have just explained in a nutshell. It can be, 3 hours or 4 hours. I basically have one session where it's only about motivation the whole day, techniques of motivation. But in that, 3 things I told you: coaching, counseling, mentoring. So I didn't cover coaching. Coaching is something for Sachin Tendulkar, who is a better batsman than you are. But because of a technical issue, his backlift is not happening properly. You just correct that. Small correction is done in coaching. Don't try to go for radical changes. You talk with an experienced teacher, and then you call the teacher and say, here you are wrong, here you're wrong. Enter the teacher, he will be furious. You just tell you're doing a wonderful job. I think just a small tweak over here can make the change. And you should have the wisdom to understand that small change that is required. That is coaching. So coaching, counseling, mentoring will solve your issue.
So here we have another question from Abha Singh, ma'am. Which is the best leader out of all the styles?
No, there's nothing called best leadership. All leaderships are situational. Now, if you understand the leadership role, look at, I'm using mythological characters repeatedly. Many of you can be Muslims or Christians over here. It doesn't make a difference because I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about mythological characters. You must have seen Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is the right example of what type of leader you should be. Sri Krishna is also called Ranchor. He runs out of the battlefield at times. At times he takes the Sudarshan and cuts off the head. At times he's telling lies. At times he's telling the truth. It's all situational. If you are absolute, Satyug, Ram Rajya cannot happen. You cannot be Ram these days. That whatever is right, I'm going for it. I'm only telling the truth. I'll sacrifice everything for my, the subjects. It's not like that. Today is a generation where you have to use your brain, and it has to be situational. At times you have to be an autocratic person. At times you have to be a democratic person. At times you need to be a driver. At times you need to be a controller. And you need to understand whom you are doing that. If you try to be a driver with an egoistic teacher, you will end up losing the teacher. So that is the wisdom that is required, and that is the price of experience. With more experience, the more way you use the techniques, and you have to use it consciously, not emotionally. Consciously use of technique, how I did it. Once I learned these techniques, I was consciously using these techniques with different employees of my organization. And I was seeing what is the reaction, what is the result. I used to make notes of that. These notes are still there with me. And I was able to come to the conclusion how to handle a person in this scenario and what type of persons can be dealt with this way. So when you do that, it becomes a research for you. It is not just a management you're doing for the sake of it. It becomes a topic of research. You enrich yourself and you share with your findings with others. That's the way it should be done.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Thomas, sir. What is your advice to a novice principal or a leader?
See, first is novice principal and a leader. Okay. So, novice is someone who is in a way that he has started his job role, just a beginner. So when you are a beginner, let me explain this to you, which I normally start my other session with that. Who is the leader, by the way? Who is the king of the jungle? I think the strongest animal is the king of the jungle. Is it right or wrong? I would say you're wrong, right? So strongest animal is not the king, it's the elephant. Is the cleverest animal the king of the jungle? The jackal? No. Is the tallest animal the king of the jungle? The giraffe? No. Who is the king of the jungle? The lion. Why the lion is the jungle king, Because the moment the lion looks at an elephant, what it says lunch. And when the elephant looks at the lion, he does not think that if I give one kick, this person is going to go rolling. He thinks that this animal is an eater. He will hunt me. So it's all about, the leadership is right here. It's not about how strong you are, how skilled you are, how tall you are. It's all about how you look at the world. How you look at the world. So a leader who is a novice leader or a tenured leader does not make any difference. And add to it something that is very important, the king of the birds. The king of the birds is an eagle. Do you know why? The king of the bird is an eagle because it can see further than any other bird. It flies at the topmost and sees further than any other bird. Who can see further than anyone else? Seeing further than anyone else is called a vision. When you're able to see the tomorrow, which eyes cannot see, that's we are telling Abdul Salam sir is a visionary leader. What is a visionary leader? Visionary leader is a leader who can see tomorrow. So you must have felt, yes, sir, Abdul Salam sir is seeing the future, grooming us like that. So you tell him visionary. So visionary person is someone who can look beyond what eyes can see. If you're sitting at the top and cannot see further than what others see, you don't have any business to sit at the top. That's what you need to understand. So being an eagle and being a lion, these are the two things that you need to be there. Whether you are a baby lion or you are a full-fledged grown lion does not make a difference. Your attitude will make you a leader or it will not make you a leader. So once you are a leader, rest of the things can be learned. The RTE, RTI, CBSE norms, pedagogy, all these are learnable skills. Something that is not learnable is your attitude. So develop your attitude from now on. That's what I would advise.
So true, sir. Here we have one last question from Shalini ma'am. How to resolve conflict between two seniors and equally efficient teachers?
Yeah, that's what I told earlier also. Now we are seeing senior and equally efficient. They are fighting with each other. Now the question is, why do they fight with each other? There are a few reasons for that. One fighting happens if it's an issue-based fighting. One teacher wants to do it his way, the other teacher wants to do it his way or her way. Now, when it's an issue-based fighting, both are fighting on this topic like that, you need to understand by resolving the conflict what you are trying to achieve. Now, if you think that they both are a part of the team that I just now formed and they need to be, in sync with each other for the team to perform, the goal cannot be met if their relationship is not good. Then you come to the resolution in terms of conflict management in terms of what? Any of the following methods. Either it can be a compromise, or it can be accommodate, or it can be a collaboration. Now, when to use accommodation? When one person is ready to say that, yes, okay, this time let that happen, next time please take my words. They are okay with it, fine. When does collaboration happen? When both of them want to win. So you pick up, the objectives of one person, the objective of another person, match those objectives and tell, with this method, both your purposes are getting served. Now, what happens if this is a personality clash? If it's not issue-based? Many of the times, you simply don't like the face of a teacher. I look at the teacher and get irritated. That's a very common thing I hear from many of the teachers. I don't know how his behavior irritates me. The way he looks at me irritates me. He always finds my fault. These are called personality clashes. Now, when it's a personality clash, it will always happen when they are not playing for the same team. Let me tell you this. A research was done when there were two groups that were made. One group was given a red jersey, the other one given a blue jersey. And they were asked to compete with each other. Now, when they were competing, they had a huge antagonistic feeling against the opposite team. The one who were wearing blue were having enmity feeling against the red ones, and the vice versa. Now, after a while, they were asked to open the jersey, and then at times, interchange. Interchange means now randomly interchange. Someone red still wearing red, but some blue members were called to the red team, and some red members were called to the blue team. And now they were wearing again the blue and the red jersey by changing it. So when that was happening, it was seen that now the people who were fighting with each other when they were having opposite jersey, by wearing the same jersey and running in the same direction, they were friends to each other. So team building can only happen when you can make them work, and that work they are doing together. The feeling of team building is very, very important. So a lot of team building activities are done by multinationals. When I was working with Wipro, I used to take my team out once in 2 months or 1 month, and Wipro used to pay for that. We used to take them to a restaurant and let them eat and drink whatever they want. So that was the way we used to do it. It was a team building activity, just pure fun, nothing else, no work, nothing. And Wipro used to spend thousands of rupees on each team. One team outing was around, in those days, I'm talking about 2006-07. In those days, it was 20,000, 25,000. Still, they used to bear it. Why? These are team building activities. So once you do a lot of team building activities, your team personality clashes will disappear. Norming, your job interference will you can get rid of that. And third, and most importantly, involving them in the process and to allow them play as a part of the team and feel as that is I called reorientation of the brain. The reorientation or reengineering of the brain is very, very important. At times we are so caught up in our own ego, we cannot see beyond that. So every person should be taught to cut the ego. In fact, in all spiritual programs that I do, I have a session which is called an ego cutting session. So ego cutting activities needs to be done in the school to make your teachers gel together well.
Thank you, sir. So if we could just take one more question.
Sure.
There's a question by Akshata ma'am. Whom should we give priority? One who is experienced in school or newly joined with innovative ideas?
Both. Would you pay attention to Kapil Dev or Sachin Tendulkar, who joins the team now? Both are great, right? What is the potential of a person we never know? So, in the organization, I would say, don't try to make everyone pigeons or everyone, ducks. There can be a peacock who has a different color, who may not be exactly like your organization. But a good leader is one who will be able to understand that I just don't need ducks in the organization with the same uniform. I need peacocks in my organization as well to add more color to it and more flavor to it. So when a newcomer comes with a new idea, a new set of idea, a lot of promise, a lot of enthusiasm, that person is equally important as the person who is tenured. As I said, Kapil Dev, who is like a sheet anchor of a team, who will be there and giving a sort of a pacifying effect to the entire team, that this person is there with us with all his experience. How, I would just give another example from mythology. I love mythology. Mahabharata, Kauravas were doing wonderfully well as long as Bhishma was there on the field. The moment Bhishma Pitamaha was put on this bed of arrows, how many days it took to defeat them? The entire Mahabharata battle went on for long days till Bhishma was there. After his death, it was one day cricket was played. One day Drona gone, one day Karna gone, one day Salya gone, all out. So that is what is the role of a sheet anchor, a person like, tenured person with all his experience like Bhishma, At the same time, an Abhimanyu is equally important, who will come and break the shackles and win the match for the day for you. That's it.
Thank you so much, sir. All the examples which are given by you, they are so interesting that we can just keep on hearing you. That was really
you so
very
much.
interesting. Okay, with that, I think we can wind up with the question answer session. Thank you so much, sir. I hope all our educators here have got the answers to the queries with respect to today's session. That was a really informative and a great learning session for all of us. Dear participants, kindly note that the link for the certificate and feedback form is already posted in the chat box. So you can kindly fill the form. With that, we have come to the end of this webinar, and it is such a great honor and privilege